Hey, it's Chris. I've been baking sourdough bread for a while now, and I have to say I really enjoy baking bread. It's just so much fun because I sit at the computer all day, and it's just so good to get away from the computer and to do something that has nothing to do with the computer. And plus, the stuff that you make or that I end up baking here, it is just so delicious, it just blows my mind. And so as you can tell, this is what's left over from yesterday, and that means it's time for me to get cracking here with a new batch of bread. So what I do is, everything's based on grams, so that means that I need a scale. And it's based on a recipe. I have my recipes up here. It's based on a recipe that is based on 1,000 grams of flour, and then there's all kinds of ways you base it on 1,000 grams, and then you can choose how much water you put in and what kind of flour you use, whether white or whole or how much or rye, and then you can also add other ingredients in there. But the basic recipe is just flour and water and a little bit of salt. So I start out with this here. Now this is sort of my baby here. This is my starter. You can take a look. You can see the consistency of it a little. And you smell it. It smells so good. This is about 5 months old, and all you do is you just mix up some flour and some water and wait and hope and fiddle with the temperature, and then it starts bubbling, and the good bacteria and yeast, they fight against the bad bacteria and yeast, and then after about a week, it starts smelling good and it starts bubbling. You have to, of course, feed it every day. That's the subject of a whole different thing. But after a while, you end up with something like this, and you just have to keep feeding it every day, and then you can bake bread from it every day, and it just keeps living, and it's actually really easy to keep going. There's not much to it. You just add water and flour every day, and it's happy. I don't know. It's really easy. So anyway, the recipe calls for 1,000 grams of flour, but you start out with 200 grams of this. So I turn this on, zero it out, and just pour the starter in there. You can see the consistency. And I want exactly 200 grams. So, yeah. All right, and now of course, the next thing you want to do, or before you continue with the bread, you want to feed your starter. So what I do is I add some water and some regular all-purpose flour. I do about 3 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons. Mix it up, or stir it up, and just so that I get it the same consistency approximately that I had before. And that's it. The starter's fed. It'll be happy again till tomorrow or tomorrow morning. It's always good to do it once a day at the same time, but if you miss a day, or not quite a day, but if you miss a half a day, then that's okay. But there's a whole other thing about starters, and she tastes pretty good too. So the next thing I need is water, and it says the recipe calls for 750 grams of water. So I use, this is reverse osmosis filtered water. I don't know if it really makes a difference. I haven't really tried chlorinated water yet because we have the filter here, and so you can read on the internet, and there are all kinds of different theories as to what kind of water you can use and what water's best. But we have reverse osmosis filtered water, so that's what I'm using. So I need 750 grams. I add that. Now you'll notice I'm just pouring it from the tap here, and so it's about at 62 degrees, I would say. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with temperature as well. I have to watch out here. 750 grams. So I try to stick very closely to my recipe, because that way you have consistent results. All right, so then there's that, the water, and then I add 20 grams of salt. I usually add a little bit more, about 20, maybe 23, 24 grams. I like my bread a little saltier. Yeah, 23 grams. All right, mix it up so that the starter gets dissolved in the water. All right, and next, zeroed out again. What I need now, this recipe, this is a basic bread recipe, country bread recipe. I take some whole wheat flour. It calls for 100 grams of whole wheat flour. And that's 100 out of 1,000 grams. I try to be pretty precise on this, so this time I got exactly 100. And white flour is 900 grams. So this will be for 2 loaves. $900, $895, $97, $98, $900. Oh, $901. All right, that's okay. All right. So that's the measuring, and now all you have to do is mix it up. I don't know. I prefer to use a spoon. They say that you can connect better with your bread if you use your hands, but at this point, I just prefer to use a spoon to stir it all up and to get it all mixed up. It takes a little while to get it all the water all incorporated. A little workout at the same time too. It's like, All right. All right. So this is what it looks like. You can sort of see how it sort of tears off if you take some up. That's the consistency. That'll change pretty quickly here. Plop the whole thing into the plastic bag. Get some kind of timer. I use my phone. I have this little app on here, a little stopwatch app, set to 30 minutes. Start it and wait 30 minutes. All right, 30 minutes is up. I'm going to reset this and start it off again so it counts down another 30 minutes, and wash my hands real quickly because now I'm going to go in there with my hands. And so if you take a look, hasn't really changed all that much right yet. It's starting to smell good though, so I just go in there. Maybe I should show you. I go in there and grab it, pull it up, and you can see how it's still tearing here. Pull it up and just plop it down and sort of turn it, and just do this a couple times. Now, I'm still trying to figure out exactly why you do this, but you can read all about it. It has to do with the gluten things, and I don't know. But anyway, if you do it, the consistency of the bread just gets so much better. It gets chewier, and it's definitely worth it. So I just do this a couple times, and then that's it. You can try it, taste it. It's starting to get good. But after a while, so I do this turning for 3 hours, every half hour. I'll be back in 30 minutes, I'll show you. And you'll probably see a little bit how it's changed by then. Okay, that was another 30 minutes. Let me take this out, wash my hands. And let's do the turn thing again. Let me see. This is a little tough holding it up like that, but it's getting better. All right, it's been about 3 hours now since I started the bread and mixed it all up, and I've been turning it every half hour. And let's take a look let's check it out. What it looks like. See how it looks different. The consistency is very different. You can pull it up and it sticks together like that. So I'm going to do one final turn. That's easier if your hands are wet. And one more turn, I think. It's better now to be a little more careful. So I'm just going to turn it. Okay. See what it tastes like? Yeah, that is definitely good. So now I'm going to cover it up again. I'm going to let it sit or rise for, I don't know, it's 1:30 now. I think I'm going to let it rise for 3 or 4 hours. It's about 70 degrees here in the kitchen. So it all depends on your temperature. So of course you can do things like put it in the oven with the light on and have it at 80 degrees, and then everything speeds up a little bit. Then I would do the next step after about another hour now. But since it's about 70 degrees, I'm going to let it sit for another 3 or 4 hours. And one thing I wanted to show you, the starter that I fed this morning, 3 hours ago, see how it's bubbled up again? It was about here before, and now it's bubbled up all the way up to here, so it's really going, which I just love. And it smells so good. Yeah. All right, it's been about 4.5 hours now, and the dough has risen. You can see here, I think there are some bubbles here, there, and some more bubbles all over the place. So that was the bulk rise, what they call the bulk rise. And so now we're ready to form the loaves. So what I do is I spread out some flour. And I get some flour on my hands. And oops, get the dough out. I'm gonna try some. Yeah. That. Oops, sorry. That is good. Okay. So as I said, this is 2 loaves, and I have to cut it in half. There's probably better ways of doing this. I have to probably buy one of those, I don't know what they're called, those flat things that you can just go in there and just cut it in half. Now I have 2. We need some more flour here. So what I'm going to do is, what you want to do is you want to create tension underneath so that it, you want to create tension so that you get a good crust on the top. So what you do is you pull up one side, pull up another side and fold it over, pull up another side, fold it over, and pull up the last side, the fourth side, and pull it over, and then sort of form a nice round loaf. Always put some flour on here. And what I do is I take one of these guys, make sure there's flour everywhere, and just plop it in there. And so this will sit overnight in the refrigerator for overnight. And tomorrow I'll be baking it. So let me show you a little more detail how this works. All right, so you pull it over, that side, the next side, this side, and then the last side. Make it nice and round. Get flour all over it. There's flour all over here, so I'm just going to collect it from here. And just plop it into the bowl with the taut or the tight side that you pulled up the other sides for on the bottom. And you're done. So what happens tomorrow is you just plop it over, and then, we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's the next day, and it's a lot later than I thought. It's 3 o'clock, but I was planning on baking in the morning, but it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon already, and actually probably doesn't make a difference. I have the dough here in the refrigerator, and as you can see, it has risen. Looks good, and I've come to the conclusion that if you bake in the morning, if it's been in the refrigerator overnight, in the afternoon, or even on the morning of the next day, it doesn't matter. You probably don't want to overdo it, but I find it doesn't really make a difference. Of course, if you have it at 80 degrees or 70 degrees, then you have to watch out, because then it's going to very quickly go over the top and it's not going to be any good anymore. But this still looks pretty good. So, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the oven and get out this guy, the Dutch oven. That is what you want to bake the bread in. So I'm going to put that in the Dutch oven, fire up the oven to 500 degrees, and wait 20 minutes. I'll set my kitchen timer here so I know when 20 minutes, because that's about how long it takes my oven to heat up. And it's important to use the Dutch oven because in the first 20 minutes you have the lid on top, and that means that the moisture that's in here, it stays within the pot, and so the crust doesn't build, and so that the bread can expand in the first 20 minutes, so you get a nice loaf with a nice big round loaf. And then after 20 minutes you take the top off, and then you do another 25 minutes, and I've always turned the temperature down to about 470 degrees for another 25 minutes, and then, well, you'll see what it will look like. All right. Okay, the oven's hot and ready to go to bake the first loaf. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put out some flour here. And as I said yesterday, I'm going to take this, to sort of wiggle it a little bit, help it out a little bit, and there it goes, plop. All right, I'm not really going to do anything, oops, I need a knife, except put some flour on top. That makes it look really cool. And I'm going to score it, and you can do it in any which way. I'm just going to do it this way, whatever. Try to get it down on the sides too. And you score it so that as the dough expands inside, the scores break open, and it can expand better. And plus, it makes it look really nice. All right, oven mitt, because this is blazing hot in here. This is a little tricky, grabbing this so that it doesn't, so this stays together. Plop. Lid on. And set the timer for 20 minutes. That was 20 minutes, so let's take the lid off. See what it looks like. Oh my gosh, look at that. Ooh, yeah, all right. Back into the oven. Turn down to 470. Set the timer for 25 minutes. And wait. All right, that was 25 minutes. Time to get it out of there. Oh yeah, that looks good. How do you like that? And here, check out the temperature. It is inside, let me see, 190, it should be around 200 and 210 degrees. I'm going to grab my mic here. You can hear it crackling. Now I gotta try some. Just with butter. Mmm.